Hi, welcome back to Sugar Mama TV, your financial coach, creator, and counselor. This video is all about me, which sounds really odd and bad, but I wanted to explain to people about why I'm so passionate about sharing my messages and sharing my advice to you, and how I fell into the industry and what financial harmony and independence means to me. So my story is I went to Macquarie University and was studying commerce and majoring in economics and marketing. And I didn't really have any idea about what I wanted to do when I finished uni, but I worked, I had a part-time job working at Greenwood Plaza, and I was a bar girl, and I used to make quite a bit of money in tips, and I used to work really long hours. I'd come home at sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I used to put all my tips into my bedside table, and I'd come home stinking of cigarettes and sticky from beer and spirits and just dirty, and I'd be exhausted, and I'd just basically collapse into bed and fall asleep. And I'd throw the tips into my bedside table and not really think anything of it. And then one day when I was procrastinating, I think I was either studying for an exam or working on an assignment, I decided I should probably see how much money I'd saved up in tips, and I noticed that all the tips were really sticky and dirty, and they were in sort of small denominations, and it was actually adding up to be quite a large amount of money from a sort of volume perspective. It took up quite a bit of space. So I didn't really know what to do, so I took it to the bank, and I took it to my local bank where my parents do their banking, and this is before the Privacy Act had come in. So probably, I don't know, maybe 14 years ago. Anyway, I didn't know what to do. I just thought, okay, well, it's taking up all this space. I'll get the $5 and $10 notes that are all added up, converted into $100 notes, and just, at least it won't take up as much space in my bedside table, and I'll just bring it home and work out what to do with it later. Anyway, I took it to the bank and handed it all over, and they added it up, and they said that they needed to take my driver's license and for a copy of my driver's license. And I just didn't think anything of it, handed them my driver's license and gave it back to me, and handed me back my money, which ended up being quite a large amount of money, and all in $100 notes. And off I went home, didn't think anything of it, put the money back in my bedside table, and continued on with my day. Anyway, that afternoon, my dad came home, and he came home screaming for me. I was in big trouble, and he said he'd been at the bank, and they asked whether he had a daughter, and did his daughter have a large amount of cash. And my dad happened to have seen the same bank teller who knew him that afternoon, and she had told him about all this cash that I had stashed away. Dad went absolutely mental at me for two reasons. He said, one, if we get robbed, all that money is gone. It's not covered under insurance. And then the second thing he got really angry at me about was, why was it sitting in my bedside table? It wasn't earning any interest. It wasn't growing in value. It was just a complete, a waste of my precious time. So literally the next day, my dad took me into my personal local bank, and we deposited the money together. And within a week, I had made my first investment. And I was really excited about that. I didn't really understand what it meant. I got a whole pile of paperwork in the mail. And then a couple of months later, I received my first check, which was my first dividend. And I didn't have a clue what to do with it. And I took it to my dad and said, oh, what is this? I didn't even know what a check really was. And my dad said, well, it's a dividend. You've earned some income off your investment. You've got to go and deposit it into the bank. And I said, well, what am I going to do with it? I don't really need it, because I work part-time and I was studying. I didn't really need the money. He said, well, you've got two options. You can spend it. Well, actually, three options. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can reinvest it. And he said, if you reinvest it, the income, will probably, continue to grow and get bigger and bigger. And I kind of got excited about that and thought that was really cool. So I banked the check, and then decided to continue on buying investments and continue on reinvesting that income. And that's how I I sort of got into investing, and I started to realize, wow, this is money. This is my money working for me. I'm not physically having to do anything for it. And obviously at the time I was at uni, my living expenses were really low, but I started to get an inkling of the potential of this passive income, this dividend income coming in, and how cool it was, and that it was helping cover some of my living expenses. So that then kind of, I guess I had an aha moment, as Oprah would call it, and I realized this is really powerful. I want to be able to show other people how to do this and how to create this for themselves. So from that point on, I decided, okay, I want to get into the financial services industry and show people how to do this for themselves. And so while I was studying university, I continued on working part-time, working as a bar girl, and I also worked part-time for a financial advisor as an assistant, and studied my advanced diploma in financial planning at the same time. So I really threw myself into the deep end because I wanted to absorb myself into as much information as possible. So that's my story of how I fell into the industry and how I started investing. And I've been investing pretty much since that moment where my dad made me make my first investment. And one thing for me that drives me is security. I remember as a child, I used to hate it when my parents would fight. I used to get so anxious, and I wouldn't eat for days when my parents were fighting. And, often, fights between most couples are often about money. And so for me, if life is so stressful as it is, life is messy, things happen, people get sick, marriages end, you have to move, you lose your jobs. If you can remove one major stress out of your life, life is going to be so much easier. So for me, teaching people and showing people how to create realistic financial independence and peace for themselves is, I think, a very valuable gift. And I think it's something that can really free up your energy and your time and allow you to focus on the things that make you happy in life, and give you a sense of security and a sense of fulfillment and happiness. So that's what I'm all about. That's my passion, and this is why I do what I do, and I love what I do. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I've got lots more videos coming out soon, and you can follow me on Instagram at sugarmama.tv, and you can like us on Facebook as well. So thanks for watching. I'll speak to you soon. Ciao for now. Bye.